Well, forget waiting for American Tomahawk missiles. Ukraine just proved it can already reach deep into Russia. Using British made Storm Shadow missiles, Kyiv launched a massive strike on a key Russian weapons plant. We'll look at what happened and why this latest attack could mark a shift in Ukraine's strategy. As the debate over the potential deployment of U.S.-made Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine continues, Western-made missiles are already being deployed against targets inside Russia. Ukraine's Air Force says it carried out what it called a massive combined missile strike on a Russian chemical plant this week, using British-supplied Storm Shadow cruise missiles. The target was deep inside Russia's Bryansk region, a site that produces gunpowder, explosives, and rocket fuel components for Moscow's military. According to Kyiv, the strike was conducted jointly by Ukraine's air, ground, and naval forces, an unusually coordinated operation that officials say penetrated Russia's layered air defense systems. They called it a, quote, successful strike, though the full extent of the damage is still being assessed. For context, the Storm Shadow is a long-range air-launched cruise missile developed by Britain and France. It's capable of flying more than 150 miles at low altitude to evade radar. Its guidance system uses GPS and terrain mapping and infrared imaging to strike hardened high-value targets with precision. Now, as we've previously reported, the UK first transferred Storm Shadows to Ukraine last year, and London gave explicit permission for them to be used inside Russian territory. That distinction matters because other Western nations, most notably the U.S., have placed strict limits on how their weapons can be used, largely to avoid escalating the war beyond Ukraine's borders. This latest strike shows that Ukraine isn't waiting for those restrictions to change, and it's not waiting for Tomahawks either. While Washington continues to debate whether to provide longer-range American missiles, Ukraine is making do with what it already has. The Bryansk strike also comes with symbolic weight. It was a deliberate hit on Russia's defense industrial base and an effort to choke the supply chain that fuels its ongoing assault, what Ukrainian officials described as, quote, a blow to the heart of the Russian war economy. And it's worth noting that particular facility had already been sanctioned by the UK back in September for producing materials used in missiles and ammunition. Now, Moscow's reaction has been, as you might imagine, predictable. The regional governor in Bryansk claimed that air defenses intercepted dozens of Ukrainian drones. He said 57 were destroyed, and that there were no casualties or damage on the ground. But as with most Russian wartime claims, there's little independent verification or evidence to support their version of events. Storm Shadow missiles are designed for exactly this sort of campaign, disrupting an adversary's ability to produce, move, and deploy weapons of war. And for Russia, that's an uncomfortable reminder that its industrial rear is no longer safe. Now, to be clear, this latest strike won't fundamentally change the battlefield overnight, but it does underscore two important shifts. First, Ukraine is increasingly focusing on strategic, long-range strikes meant to degrade Russia's ability to sustain the fight. And second, the West's tolerance for these cross-border operations appears to be expanding, at least among those supplying the weapons, in this case, the UK. Meanwhile, in response, Russia continues to hammer Ukrainian cities. In the past 48 hours, Moscow launched waves of missiles and drones against Kyiv, Zaporizhzhia, and Kharkiv. Ukrainian officials say at least 7 people were killed, including children, and that critical energy infrastructure was damaged in at least 10 regions. President Zelensky called the attacks vile, saying they prove that diplomacy alone will not stop Moscow. And that contrast, the strike on a military target inside Russia versus Russia's ongoing bombardment of civilian neighborhoods inside Ukraine, illustrates how both sides are fighting two different kinds of war. For Ukraine, every precision strike on a weapons plant is a message to its Western partners. We can use your technology responsibly and effectively. For Russia, every missile fired at an apartment block or a hospital or a school is a message of terror to Ukrainians, and perhaps to its own people, that this war is far from over. So, while the Tomahawk debate continues in Washington, the battlefield reality has already changed. The era of Ukraine striking deep inside Russia with Western weapons isn't coming. it's already here. Okay, coming up next, North Korea fires off a volley of missiles just days before President Trump lands in South Korea for his anticipated meeting with Xi Jinping. More on Kim Jong Un's latest show of force when we come back. Hey, Mike Baker here. Now, let me take just a moment of your time to talk about sweat. You didn't see that coming, did you? Now, let's get real. Fall is here. You knew that. And staying fresh, frankly, through backyard football games and yard work, well, it's tough. And that's where Mando deodorant comes in. See, I told you I'd be talking about sweat. Now, I've been using their Sweat Control Solid Stick, and it's a game changer. It delivers all-day odor and sweat control with none of those wacky clothing stains. You know what I'm talking about. It prevents odor before it starts using mandelic acid, clinical strength protection that reduces sweat by 92%. Think about that, 92% after 12 hours. So give it a go. You'll feel dry, you'll feel confident and energized without reapplying. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. You get the solid stick, the cream tube, and 2 free products like mini body wash and deodorant wipes. Plus, you get free shipping. Come on. As a special offer for our PDB listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with code PDB by visiting shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com, code PDB, for 20% off site-wide, plus free shipping. Don't forget to tell them that the PDB sent you. Again, at shopmando.com, code PDB for 20% off site-wide, plus free shipping. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. It's part missile test, part message. North Korea broke 5 months of silence with a fresh round of short-range launches today, timed just as President Trump readies for his trip to the Korean Peninsula. According to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, the missiles were fired from an area south of Pyongyang and flew roughly 220 miles northeast before slamming into the ground, rather than their typical landing spot out in the Pacific Ocean. South Korean officials said they detected movement near known launch sites earlier in the day, prompting a spike in military readiness. Seoul, in a statement following the launch, said its forces remain fully prepared to respond in coordination with the U.S. Japan's new prime minister said Tokyo is, quote, in close communication with Washington and Seoul, confirming that the 3 allies are sharing real-time missile warning data. The timing of North Korean leader Kim Jong Un's test, of course, was no accident. Trump's Asian swing begins later this week, and Pyongyang clearly wanted to mark the occasion. President Trump's itinerary is loaded. It includes stops in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea, capped by the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit and a high-stakes meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where trade, Taiwan, and missile deterrence sit at the center of the planned discussion. Trump is also expected to meet South Korean President Lee Jae-myung. The two reportedly discussed extending an invitation to Kim Jong Un for a brief meeting during Trump's visit, though no word on whether that invitation was actually extended. Inside the White House, aides debated whether Trump should make a stop at the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, but again, no final decision has been made. Still, it is familiar territory for Trump. He met with Kim 3 times during his first term in what was billed as a historic diplomatic breakthrough. But those talks, later collapsed when Washington insisted on the regime's full denuclearization before lifting sanctions. Since then, Kim has pressed ahead with his weapons program in defiance of UN resolutions, and he's made sure the world is watching his arsenal grow and advance in sophistication, in part due to North Korea's growing ties with Russia and the resulting weapons technology transfer. As our regular PDB listeners will remember, the last missile test from Kim's regime back in May simulated nuclear counterstrikes against U.S. and South Korean forces. And then, of course, came the country's military parade earlier this month, quite the festive occasion, an 80th anniversary spectacle of the Workers' Party that doubled as a weapons expo. Kim unveiled what state media called the, quote, most powerful nuclear strategic weapons system yet. That would be the Hwasong-20. It's an intercontinental ballistic missile believed capable of carrying multiple warheads and reaching the U.S. mainland. Sources on the peninsula say a test could come within months. In his parade speech, Kim vowed that his forces would, quote, continue to evolve into an invincible force that eliminates all threats. This parade also showcased a mix of short-range, cruise, and hypersonic missiles, all designed to keep Washington guessing as to the extent of Pyongyang's arsenal. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Wednesday, the 22nd of October. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. And, of course, to listen to the show ad-free, well, you can do that, and it's very, very simple. Just become a premium member of the President's Daily Brief by visiting pdbpremium.com. I'm Mike Baker. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool. Hey, Mike Baker here with a great offer from our friends over at Birch Gold Group. Now you can buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they'll send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they'll send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you're current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, many of whom are PDB listeners, I encourage you to diversify your savings into gold. Check with them and see if it's right for you. Text PDB to the number 989-898 for a free information kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchases before the end of the month. Again, it's simple. Just text PDB to 989-898.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.